seen something like me.
Hi and welcome to another episode of Walking with Wolfinch, and today I'm really pleased to say that we've got Patti Rother with us, who is the president of Stay in Your Lane. Patti, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. This is so exciting.
About 30 seconds ago, you gave me a really neat synopsis of your history, and I wonder if you could say it exactly the same way.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah, we were talking about how I got into franchising and how long it's been, and I was telling you that I fell into it somewhat by accident. I was in college. I needed a job to pay the bills that college incurs, and I got a job at a local Panera Bread, and I had no idea that it was franchised. It was actually franchised by one of the larger franchisees in the Panera system, and I stayed in it because I always needed a restaurant job to pay the bills, but I was actually pursuing a master's because I wanted to be an art therapist.
Wow.
And so through the years, I kept pursuing my education while also getting promoted in all these jobs, and figured maybe this is actually the path that the universe wants me on versus this art therapy degree I've been pursuing.
Cool. A couple of years ago, we were in Tuscany, and I thought after that, I need to get into the history of art and do a course, but I'm yet to do it. So I'll let you know when I sign up.
People are surprised to find out that my degrees are in psychology and studio art.
I mean, that is phenomenal. I'm not surprised by that, I've got to say.
Really?
Well, looking at how artistic you are, and I can totally see that. It's very cool, and you've created such an amazing brand. So it'll be immemorable for you, but it was super memorable for me. But we met last year at the IFA convention in Las Vegas when you were doing a breakout room and talking about AI and so on. And that whole moment got me thinking about AI, talking about AI with my team, exploring it, and which I thought was just super, super cool.
Yeah.
And we've had Ingrid on the show as well.
Right.
And Ingrid is your CEO.
She is.
And you said technically the founder of Stay in Your Lane?
She is the founder of Stay in Your Lane, yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. And so we were talking about how to build a cult brand and friend dev and so on. But I wonder if we could focus our conversation today on AI and all of the cool new stuff that you're doing. I mean, from what I've heard, you run about 1,500 different businesses and are able to do them all, without actually ever turning up all at the same time because of AI. So, shoot.
I mean, it's been really interesting because if you just look at the scale and rise of our own business, we've only been in business about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And what we've been able to accomplish in that time and the amount of work that we're able to put out, because we're familiar with these tools, because we're implementing them and using them every day, I think should be a testament to what brands can achieve if they really embrace these tools specifically, and ensuring that their teams are familiar with them.
Amazing. So I've got to sort of rewind that. So how did you come across AI, and how do you learn about it? It's such a vast subject, and seems to be something new every day. I was at one of the symposiums this morning about AI, and it was Sean Dubrovac. Is that am I pronouncing that correctly?
I'm not sure.
Super cool, and it was all about AI and how to use it within your business, and it was quite straightforward stuff. It was really kind of looking at very foundational, but how do you go about it, and how did you get interested in the first place?
Yeah, so I've always been a team of one. I've always worked for emerging brands. I really love the emerging brand space. And in franchise development specifically, you have to do so many things and have so many touch points in order to do that job really well. And so technology was my way to bolster myself time and time and time again. And the reality is AI, when it became democratized and OpenAI came around and ChatGPT was a thing that we could all use, Ingrid and I specifically jumped in, feet first. We got to figure this out. I remember waking up my wife in the middle of the night and being like, you have to see this. And she was not at all interested. But being just amazed about the potential that this brought for brands, and specifically emerging brands. When you don't have the capital, when you don't have the PE backing, you don't have the massive corporate team. Now there are these tools that can bolster and you're able to compete with some of these larger brands in a way that you wouldn't have been able to before. And so we embraced the technology very early on. We learned how to use the tools very early on.
Amazing.
And folks started asking us to teach them. Tell me how you're doing this. What tool should I use? How should I prompt it? What should I be asking? And that's really how we got ourselves in the spot that we're in, where we're now leaders in the space and really educating so many people and helping brands implement these tools every day.
And you truly are just a freaking rock star, right? You guys are flying. You know, it's amazing.
Yeah,
and
it's been
from the
really
sidelines,
amazing.
It's amazing to watch as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You were saying earlier that you've spent 17 years getting to this point.
Yeah, 17 years of definitely putting in the time and perfecting kind of my franchise development process and expertise. And now with Stay in Your Lane, we're able to impact so many other brands and really help them achieve their next phase of growth in whatever way we can. So we have built an incredible team. I mean, Ingrid and I are always in awe of the people that we've surrounded ourselves with and people who said yes to us because it's just unbelievable the talent that we have.
How cool. So what are some practical ways that you've seen people use AI?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting.
In the franchising space.
Yeah. There's still so much uncertainty and so much misinformation, I think, out there. So many people think you have to be this highly sophisticated person and utilizing these tools in this highly sophisticated way. The reality is, if you can just figure out how to have what we call AI intuition, which is as you go throughout your day, how can you implement these tools to just time save? Just start with that. What's something that you do repeatedly week to week or day to day that you can now automate with AI? Something as simple as we use it to plan all of our social content and help us write content and copy. And so what used to take us maybe weeks of planning and writing and creating images now takes us maybe 10 minutes on a Sunday, and we've got our whole week of content planned out.
That's unbelievable. So what do you use?
I mean, it's mostly just ChatGPT. We've become such experts. And
you just know what to ask it.
Yeah, and OpenAI has just continued to raise the bar, even as more large language models have come out, other image generation tools have come out. The quality of the output, especially if you know what question to ask, is still wildly impressive on OpenAI's platform versus others. So that really has become our main tool.
So you've got Dali, that's part of that.
Exactly. Yep, all the plugins, all the GPTs. There's a lot that you can use just all within that tool that we train folks on it a ton during our classes. We talk about other large language models, but really that's our main tool.
That's the Mecca, basically. That's the place to be.
We call it the mother.
Yeah, the mother.
Her name's Veronica on our team. Nice. And we invite Veronica to many of our meetings make sure that we're thinking about things the right way and strategizing and planning and pushing even the limits of our own brains to say, what are we not thinking about? What is it that we might be missing? We constantly are asking ChatGPT, what else is there? How else should I be thinking about this?
Very
to just push your brain to the limits. Even with 17 years of experience, there are ways of thinking that I'm stuck in that now AI helps me escape.
Of course. And so if you've got a piece of AI, so a ChatGPT or OpenAI in that whole kind of space, and you've got an emerging brand, and let's say they really want to immerse themselves into the whole thing, into that whole ecosystem of AI. You've clearly got things like social media with Dali and ChatGPT and so on, great. Or the kind of mid-journey piece and so forth. And one of my buddies was telling me about Runway recently and showed me a photograph of his wife on holiday, and it was a photo that he then made kind of move. And I thought, how cool is that, right? But what else? Just kind of talking about what people would use it for, you know, when with likes of me that are not particularly creative, and you think, well, gosh, you know, I could do that on AI, could I? Because last time we spoke, you got me onto Otto, and you know, it was game changing, right?
There are so many practical ways that we can use these tools, and again, the way that I have people think about it oftentimes is, what are the pieces that you're doing every day, your team is doing every day? What about automatic replies to online reviews that can read the review, understand what it's about, respond in a way that saves that customer or values that customer so that they come back again and again and become a raving fan? What about service tickets? We're helping one brand right now create a GPT where we're loading in all of the manuals for all of the equipment in their restaurant. We're loading up all the serial numbers and when their warranty is out. And now a franchise owner, before they call a tech and spend money on R&M, they ask the chat bot, how should I figure out my Fry Master right now? It's down, it has this light on. Instead of having to find the manual and figure it out on your own, or worse, spend money on a tech visit that you didn't need, or understand whether it's under warranty. All of those things were taking her team so much time that now they're saving, and franchisees can help themselves to this information that otherwise would have been really complicated to find out. And it's those tiny little pieces that you're like, if I can do that with R&M and how that impacts profit and time and my team's time, what can I do with the people who are constantly on the phone with franchisees about their equipment, or general managers, or what have you? If you compound that over time, and that's just one example, what can your company achieve with all of that extra time that now you're freeing up from your team? We talk about it all the time. We don't believe in AI replacing roles, but we certainly believe in AI bolstering your team to then give them the freedom of creativity to do the things that are most impactful.
I mean, and I think that piece about compounding time, that really appeals to me. Because you just think, over 2 years, I mean, how many months of time do you put back into your business?
Right. And the thing is, I sometimes use it for the silliest things. I have a lead list, and it's in an Excel spreadsheet, and it's got all this information, but all I need is the emails. I just want to send a quick email through Gmail, and I need them all to have a semicolon and a space in between. I can copy all of that. I can drop it into ChatGPT. I need to write an email. Please take all of the email addresses and separate them with a semicolon and a space. Boom, it's done. I copy paste, and now I've just saved myself, I don't know, 7 minutes of time, but 7 minutes over the course of a whole day. If you think of all the little minutia things that you do,
well, it's half an hour a week,
up.
Right? It's
exactly.
It's you're in for. I'm just doing a quick maths on that, but you're in for about a day a year just on that. It's
the
unbelievable.
other piece is I think having incredible franchisee relationships is something that is so challenging. And oftentimes, the folks who are having the most difficult conversations with franchisees are the junior level on your team, right? It's not oftentimes the VP or the CEO anymore. How can we arm those folks with strategies and scripts and different things so that they're armed to have a great relationship? If you think about some of those challenging emails you get, or even phone calls you get, and you can have a thread ready to go, or you can be chatting with that while on the phone, or drop an email in and say, I have to respond, and I have to say no, but I cannot risk this relationship. So what's a way that I can explain this so that they get it and I don't risk this relationship? And it will formulate a response that helps you at least think through it differently.
Careful not to be run over here. So the plugins and all that. I mean, so if we're talking about a base level thing like responding to reviews, let's say. Now, how would one go about doing that?
So that's where it starts getting a little complicated, right? There's as easy as helping your franchisees have the language and the voice and the personality of your brand in a way where they can put that into ChatGPT, start a thread that says you're an expert in responding to reviews and saving customers and creating raving fans. I'm going to drop in reviews that my customers leave, and your job is to respond to them in a way that compels them to come back. And that's kind of the most basic way that you can use these tools. The more complicated way is essentially taking the ChatGPT OpenAI API and actually creating a tool that does it automatically for you on the back end. So it's constantly reading reviews and it's replying. You can create an approval process. Your franchisee still has to look at it before it posts. But there's a ton of ways to start automating each step of the process so that it becomes one kind of, full circle process where everything's buttoned up end to end. And I think that's where AI is moving so quickly, tools come and go so quickly, things change so quickly that sometimes building a whole process like that on the backs of something right now is somewhat risky. Because you might invest a lot of money into building this end-to-end system, and maybe that tool doesn't exist in 3 months, or it goes bankrupt because everyone thought it was going to be the next big thing, and it's not over.
It's not the unicorn.
So we do caution brands, choose wisely, and make sure that you're doing things that make a lot of sense for your brand.
Which kind of makes sense about kind of backing Open API and Open AI rather.
Because we don't think they're going anywhere.
And they're backed by Microsoft, so they seem like
they have
They seem like they knock around for a while.
Yeah, right. We should be safe.
By the way, that was the City of Grace Church. It's such a stunning building.
Beautiful.
I walked past it last night.
And I love that name for a church.
Yeah. How wonderful.
I actually have Grace tattooed on my wrist
as
a reminder.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Where does that sort of come from?
I am the world's worst critic to myself, and so I need a constant reminder to continue to have grace with myself, and I tend to be hard on other people.
Yeah.
So always reminding myself to continue to give grace to other humans in my life. Being a human is really hard.
I think that's
if we all approach it with a little bit of grace, it's a good way to live.
It's a very nice bit of advice, actually, for entrepreneurs, but humans, in general.
Human first is definitely one of our values at Stay in Your Lane. So it all fits.
It's very cool. So, getting back into the old the AI business, I mean, that is, where do you see it going? What do you think the future of it is? I mean, the pace it's moving in right now, and I'm sure that your very artistic brain can probably see things that the rest of us maybe can't.
Yeah.
What does it look like in 5 years to you?
5 years I can't even think about, because in the last year it's been insane. I think honestly, what's going to be happening sooner, and we're already seeing it happen, is just the consolidation of these companies, right? Yeah. Even plugins now on ChatGPT are kind of over. They're dying away. Yeah. Other large language model tools. So we're going to see a consolidation of effort. We're going to see less tools overall, and kind of the main players in large language models, video generation, image generation. Yeah. I do have concerns around deep fake and safety and bias. All of that, and want to just make sure companies are thinking about proprietary information. Yeah.
Well, I was looking at Hey Jen, when you're talking deep fakes, I mean, that's very cool when you think about what you could do with it, but super scary at the same time, right?
Right. And if you think of somebody like me, I'm obviously very active on LinkedIn. My face is out there. My voice is out there. Yeah. There's going to be plenty of people who can use my likeness and my voice and create videos that look and sound very much like me, that say things I would never say. Yeah. And if you think about that, with leaders of countries and, totally. And diplomats and different people, it can be really dangerous. But I think as we're thinking about the future, automation and integration of AI into every part of your business is going to be crucial. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. And I think often brands are too hesitant to adopt new technology. And this one is just not one to ignore. Yeah, it is not going anywhere, and it is time to educate yourself, your team, put some policies in place, and ensure that folks on your team are well equipped to use these tools.
Well, this is our Kodak moment in the world, I suppose, right? It's and I think the safety aspect of it's quite interesting, because I think I was at this this thing this morning at the IFA, and the big conversation that the franchisors in the room were sort of worried about was the safety of it.
Of course.
If I'm putting information in, where is that going? Mm-hmm. Is that going back into teaching the language model? Yeah. And also the sort of issues around things like deepfakes and so on. I mean, how do we, both in the US, but in obviously for me across the pond, and as a society in general, how do we prevent the sort of all the negative parts of it, or control that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where our governments really have to step up and get ahead of this before it gets out of hand. I think what we're seeing is a lot of conversation, which is really incredible, around how to keep this safe and how to ensure that AI gets regulated in a way that keeps companies safe, countries safe, people safe. I think about my children and how this is just going to be a part of their lives. And what does that mean for them and their education, and how they're going to use their brains and the way that they think and the way that they strategize. In the same way that, social media is concerning. We want to make sure that we're setting up everyone for success, including our own children. I do think it's going to be really interesting to see what legislation gets passed, especially in our own government. There's already states passing different pieces of needed consent if you're going to record a call with an autopilot or a Fireflies. Copyright issues around, if I create a piece of art using generative AI, who owns that art? Is it me, the creator? Do I have any rights to it? And what about the artist's work that fed into that model to create that art? Do they get any money? Do they get any credit? And so there's a ton of conversations happening, which I think are all the right conversations. There's no way to know now how it's going to impact even 6 months to a year from now.
Totally.
And what those conversations are going to turn into.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, because the entrepreneur in me, the arms wavy, is super excited about where this is going. But at the same time, the kind of caution bit is very important.
Yes.
And if you think back to the internet being introduced, and if we could manage and control that better, how would it have looked and so on, and it's very open and so forth. So I think that's a really interesting piece. But so if somebody wants to learn about AI and immerse themselves, how would they go about doing that?
I mean, we obviously do education, and we're super passionate about it. We do kind of what's called the trifecta. We'll educate your entire executive team, we'll implement an AI safety and ethics policy, and then we'll train your franchisees. And I think that's a great way to get started. Find an expert and definitely immerse yourself in learning and getting curious. We always tell people, start training your algorithms on social media to tell you about AI. Start following AI influencers. There's so many incredibly smart people who have been doing this for years.
Anyone that you'd recommend?
Oh my gosh, Rachel Woods, Justin Feinberg, Ali Miller. There are so many that are just really good. We showcase a lot of them in our classes. We'll mix it up with TikTok videos.
Nice.
Just to keep everyone engaged. But I mean, I think the more that you can get curious, the better. And always understanding that safety needs to come first, and part of that is education. Part of that is making sure that you understand these tools and kind of what's at stake.
Great. And because I think when we're sort of getting into the conventional wisdom of books and so on, I mean, that's just, it becomes redundant because it just changes so quickly, right?
Exactly. I mean, even with our own trainings, we do a foundational class and we do an advanced class. And we're updating them every single week because everything is changing so quickly.
Wow.
And ensuring that we're showing the right tools, and that if we've dug into one and we realize this isn't at all what we thought it was, that we don't talk about it or encourage people to use it. We're reading all the terms of service. We're reading all of the fine print to ensure that we're not encouraging folks into something that could be dangerous. So even, the same way that you would get legal advice from a lawyer, you really have to think about AI in that way and ensure that you're getting it from somebody reliable who's really done the legwork and the research.
I suppose that's it as well, isn't there? There's just so much there in the kind of the back end of it all that the average person, frankly, isn't going to be bothered to dig in and look at the fine print and so on, but it's so important, right?
And it's so easy to get fooled by the shiny new toy and say, I just want to create a quick image. Without realizing that now that image AI tool is going to be tracking all of your internet usage for the rest of time, and you just allowed it to. So being sure to, again, think through what you're signing up for. Even, this is why we encourage AI policies, because even thinking about your team already using this, your franchise owners already using this, are they on company hardware? Are they using your software? All of that needs to be thought through before you really get in deep with AI, because how it impacts the safety and proprietary information of your company could be great or it could be detrimental.
I mean, I took one thing away from this morning of we need an AI policy, right? As franchisors, everyone needs an AI policy.
100%.
And you're sort of echoing that, and that's really interesting for me to think about. How do we bring that to life?
In the policies that we help companies write, we have a list of allowed tools and a list of tools that aren't allowed.
Fantastic.
Because even knowing that is super important to say, all right, this is our preferred large language model. Here are the other two that we're okay with you using, but this list of 10, please do not use on a corporate device.
And what, we've spoken about OpenAI and ChatGPT, Dali, and so on. What other tools, if there were 2 or 3 that you think are really useful or interesting for people to explore, what would they be?
So we use Otter AI to record and transcribe all of our calls. For a franchise development person, if you're not using an AI note taker for those calls that you're having with candidates, I would absolutely encourage you to use that. We use an incredible tool called Crystal Knows, Knows, and it profiles people using the DISC profile based on their LinkedIn, and it'll tell you how to write an email to them, how to convince them of something, how to speak over the phone. When you get onto a Google Meet, it'll tell you their profile in 3 tips while you're on the phone with them. And so it's an incredible tool for sales because now you know the psychology of someone, and you can really tailor what you say and how you say it so that they hear you, right? Some folks really need a story and a vision and buy-in, and other people are like, send me 5 bullet points. And if you don't know, me too.
DI, right?
DI. If you don't know that going in, you could write a novel to somebody who needed 3 bullet points. Totally. You just lost the deal.
And
right?
it's so interesting, even when you're from an employment perspective. So we disc profiled all of our team. And what I found was I'm speaking now differently to different members of my team.
100%.
You know, some of them need a 5-minute kind of, hey, how's the weekend?
Right.
Others, bang, here we go. You know, this is what I need.
Yeah.
My PA, who's super cool, and she lives in South Africa, I'll just send her like 1-word messages, and you know, she's like
exactly
super high D, you know, and she's like, yep, cool, done it, right? You know, here we go. Right?
And if you sent that to somebody who was a creative and
you know had,
they would be super offended that you didn't ask them how their day was. It's so valuable. So note taking for sure. Personality, Crystal knows. We love ChatGPT, but Dali is limited in its ability to really create quality images. So great for basic stuff. Midjourney, I would absolutely recommend to anyone who's on the creative side who really has to be creating something that's a little more sophisticated. Midjourney at this point can completely replace a photo shoot. So if you're trying to have more content for your brand or more social media posts, you can absolutely use Midjourney and train it on your brand. And create just a whole image portal of potentially brand, like on-brand images. And so, again, if you think about how you could bolster your team with that, or save money. I mean, I've been part of so many photo shoots with brands. If you think about the restaurant space, the food photography, the hand models, the constant shoots where you're like, oh, I got to drip the sauce again. There's so much food waste. There's so much time. It's days on set. If you could just create like a beautiful burger shot, with AI.
With great hands. I mean, my wife thinks I could be a hand model. You know, she's certainly doesn't believe I could be a face model, but
got the hands down.
The hands down, right?
It's just unbelievable. So Midjourney for sure for images.
Cool.
And we really love if you just need a quick app on your phone. Obviously, ChatGPT has an app, but Perplexity is an amazing tool.
Perplexity.
And Poe.
Poe, yes, you told me about Poe.
Well.
And Quick on the move.
Just quick on the move. If you're not a GPT Plus user and you just need something available and quick, those are great tools for on the go.
That is great. And final question: if you wanted to give one piece of advice to entrepreneurs listening, to say, well, do this and deep dive here. This is the thing that's going to get you to the next stage on. What would that be?
Just get in there. Don't let fear, don't let hesitation, don't let the mystery of it all stop you. Get in there, start using these tools, get to a place where you can understand them, educate yourself. You will be wildly far ahead of any of your competitors as soon as you start embracing these tools.
Wonderful advice, thank you. And if somebody wants to get in touch with you or the company, how would they go about doing that?
I am all over LinkedIn. I don't think there's another Patti in franchising, so find me there. If not, stayinyourlaneco.com is our email or our website. And I'm just Patti@stayinyourlaneco.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. You're a total rock star. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
That was so fun.
Thank you. And thank you very much for tuning in to Walking with Wolfinch. Another episode with the absolute superstar, Patti Rother. We're so excited about AI and the direction that it might take, and I'd really recommend that you follow her for more information. Until next time.